So good evening, everyone. Welcome to elanmarkets.com. I'm Abhijit, and I'm honored that you all have joined in this evening for a free webinar. A penny saved is a penny earned. Our very first step towards spreading financial literacy. I'll be talking a bit about Elon Markets towards the later half of this presentation. I'll save it for the last. But we'll go ahead with this topic, which talks predominantly about saving. So what exactly is a penny? So what's a penny? A penny essentially is the smallest denomination of a currency. It's the smallest denomination of a currency. So if you talk about in Indian context, a penny would be something like a paisa, right? Uh, it can be like a cent or the smallest denomination when we talk about any currency. Now, do not underestimate the power that it's so small. The quotation says that save as small as possible, but save regularly. So the key of the thing is, it is small. Yes, it is really very small. What do we get in a paisa, right? If I can think of when I was like 5-6 years old, I can still remember we used to get coins of 1 paisa, 2 paisa, 5 paisa, right? I don't think we get anything below a rupee now. So, but the fact is, in the quotation is, no matter how small it is, it's not the amount that we are saving that is important, but the habit of saving is what is important. So in this webinar, we'll be talking about why such a habit is important, number one, and what can such a habit lead to in the future, and why most of us are lacking such a habit. So what is saving in the first place? So if you have to define, how do you define and what is saving? It is the first step to financial success is achieved through disciplined savings. Now, that's the key. That's the most important word that you can see is disciplined savings. Erratic savings on and off here and then is not going to lead to much success. But it's the word disciplined, the habit inculcated about disciplined savings is what savings strength is. And the other thing is, the early you start, the better for you actually to reap the gains of benefits of compounding. If I'm not mistaken, it was Mr. Einstein who said that the eighth wonder in the world is the power of compounding. This is an amazing thing, and it gets better and better when you start earlier. The earlier you start, the better it is. So if I have to answer the question that is raised in this slide, so what is saving? If I go by the traditional simplest of formula that you can think of is, well, I earn something and then I have some expenses, and what's left is I can save, right? That probably would be a traditional formula. But if I have to, motivate myself, get inspired from the best of the minds, then this is what Mr. Warren Buffett says, that do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. I'll just take a couple of seconds. I'll request everyone to mute yourself. Guys, please mute yourselves. Thanks. So I'll go with the flow of the definition of what Mr. Buffet had. And the point is, you're earning something that's perfectly fine, and that's the way towards it. But the important thing is, whatever you earn, first save something, discipline saving, and then whatever is left out of it, that you can make it an expense. So that's a pretty good example or a formula of what your savings would be. So let's do a comparative study, and I'm going to take a very ancient example. We all know the story when we were young, but I'm going to take a very simple comparative study just to figure out that why savings can be a really interesting and really fruitful thing. So on one hand, I have Mr. Ant, and on the other hand, I have Mr. Grasshopper. So let's say both of them are of the same age, let's say 25 years old, and they start off their They finish their MBA in finance, they finish their MBA in HR and marketing, and they take up a job, a placement. They're equally intelligent, they're equally talented. Mr. Ant is 25 years old and he started making like around 50,000 a month. And he's dedicated that I'm going to save a bit of it every month. And he's decided to save around 10,000. He's going to put aside 10,000 every month and he'll be left out with 40K. And this 40K is what he's going to spend and probably invest in. The part of investment will come later. Mr. Grasshopper gets a similar job, the same age, but he has a long bucket list. He has a long list of places to go. He has a long list of gadgets to buy. He has a long list. And the list he's been making since he was in college. So he's walked out, he's studied really hard, he's got his job fine, but he's got to take care of his list. And it's a fad, right? That you make up list, and the most important thing that you have to do in the list is check them. So he's got a long list already ready before he gets the job. So Grasshopper is actually earning, he gets his salary, straight away he has those lists to take care of. So he might get trapped in the field of EMIs for gadgets he buy or things they buy. And what left out is probably not much. So he's not saving much or zero saving. So if I make an assumption that, on an average, if I get not much, but around 8% a year, so this generally would be in the range of 7 to 9, depending on the rate of interest that the central bank raises or reduces. So over a long period of time, if both of them, of Mr. Ant actually over here who's making the savings, fetches around 8%. So with the power of compounding, these are the kind of numbers that he'll get. Now, when it comes to compounding, now rather than showing you slides, we can quickly go and check it on our websites, on some of the websites which are available. So let's say you do a Google. Oh, I did a Google on Google. All right. So you do a Google and you say compound interest calculator, right? You'll find many of them. So this is one that I have over here. So let's say you come here and we have a calculator. And let's say currency, we keep it other. Base amount, let's say you decide, or Mr. Ant has decided that he's going to put in 20,000 rupees. His annual rate of interest is around 8%. His annual rate of interest is around 8%. His calculation period is months. Is he getting compared in months or years? Is actually years. So let's say Mr. Ant started at the age of 25. So let's say 10 more years. What happens in 35? A deposit. He's depositing it. And a compounding interval. So that will be yearly. And then you say calculate. So when you do that, what you get is in 10 years, what kind of numbers do you get? So let's say for your example, you get a job and you decide that, okay, fine, I'm going to start off small and I'm going to put in this just 5,000 rupees. I'm getting around 7.5% nowadays, let's say 8%. And my calculation period is, let's say I want to put it for, let's say 5 years. Yeah, I'm going to deposit compounding yearly. If I calculate now 5 years, this is the yearly interest that you're getting. This is the total interest that is getting accumulated, and this is the balance that you get, right? So these are the many compound interest formulas, calculators which are there online, which will help you. Now, obviously, Grasshopper, if he even starts off late, he's not going to make the kind of money that Ant would have managed to save. This makes, or this puts the Ant in a position which is really comfortable. I still remember when I was doing my MBA days, where I used to live. My neighbor was an elderly couple. They didn't have any child, and in their drawing room, in their living room, they had a big white board like the stuff that you see in classrooms. And in that big white board, really bold in, I guess it was green ink, and they had written, "We want to be financially free. We want to have our financial freedom." Right? So at that age, they had started their war. They had started their journey. They have started their ordeal towards financial freedom. That's exactly what saving does. And that saving is just the easiest and the smallest part of it. The more complex and more rewarding part is the investment, which we'll take up next month. But saving is something, if started early and started small, and that's why the quotation is starts with a penny. It doesn't say a dollar, it doesn't say a dime, it doesn't say 1,000 rupees, right? It says the smallest denomination of the currency. So don't underestimate the fact that it's small, but really encourage the fact that it's the habit. So what the ant has managed to do after years of saving is he's financially free. He's earned his financial freedom. And when he's kind of towards the later half of his life, when he has that kind of time, now he has that money and he's financially free. So he can now fulfill his needs. Okay. Um, He's saving just around 20% every year, year on year, around 7-8%, which is the kind of norm, that kind of rates that you'll get now. And he's not put in much of an effort, right? So that kind of a simple habit has made the ant financially free, okay? And you all know the story about the ant and the grasshopper and what happens to the grasshopper when the winter comes, right? And the ants have worked it really hard and they're enjoying their winter. So financial freedom can only be achieved through financial literacy, and that's exactly from where we have started our journey. So the ant has managed to gain financial freedom, and the first and simple step that he has taken is savings. Now, how important is savings actually? Can we have any empirical evidence rather than cartoons of ants and grasshoppers and stories which are old that work hard and don't spend now? So can we have any empirical study? Now, I quickly did a study on tradingeconomics.com, which is a website which gives us macroeconomic parameters and numbers and trends of various countries. So I just wanted to check that what's the India household savings like? That's the blue line, if you can see the screen clear. And there's a dotted line which talks about the GDP of India as a country, right? So I'm not too surprised to see like little earlier than 1975, say 70s till now. Yes, how about inflation? We'll get into that. The kind of household savings that we have and the GDP growth is nicely correlated and it's been rising fairly well. So the fact that the Indian household has been savings is always a good thing which goes into the bank deposit. If the bank deposit raises, they have the possibility of giving smaller and bigger loans, which will lead to productions and economic growth, and which will reflect in the overall GDP of the country. So savings in overall is an important factor. Yes, the question raised is a very important one, which talks about inflation. Now, if inflation is too high and your savings rate is too low, what you're getting, then obviously you're losing out on your savings. This is where a mix of, what your income is, should be a part of how much you're saving, and a bit of investments, right? Now, saving is something which is kind of foolproof, which is kind of stable, which is kind of, it's not too risky, and I'm going to earn a certain amount of returns, right? The other part is where investment comes into the picture, and investments is something that we'll be talking about in our next leg. Today, we're going to focus completely on savings. Now, investments is what will help you to beat inflation. Right now, if you say that, okay, fine, the rate of inflation that is going around right now is around 5%, and if I do a recurring deposit in a bank, I'm going to get around 7.5%. So fine, your savings are doing slightly better off. But on a long term, if you consider 20, 25 years, 30, 35 years, 40 years, then a mix of saving and investment, a habitual saving and investment will definitely help. And it's actually the investments which can do the trick of beating inflation. Easier said than done, guys. It's actually much easier said than done. One more request. I'll request everyone to mute yourself so that others don't get your background noise. Yeah, thanks. So that's exactly what's going to help beat inflation. And a healthy dose of inflation is always necessary. It's always good for the overall economy, which talks about that the economy per se is growing. But today, The objective is to talk about savings. Today, the objective is to start small. Today, the objective is to start with baby steps. In our mission towards financial literacy, this is the first step. And in the very first step, we don't want to jump and run. We want to just try and just stand on our feet. And saving is the best option. Once we are stable and we have the balance, then we'll talk about investments. Then we'll talk about equity. Then we'll talk about asset classes. Then we'll talk about trading. Then we'll talk about mutual funds and insurance. And there's so many instruments. So now, if you even think that, okay, if you're a student and you're about to pass out your college or MBA days, or you've started your work and you've been a couple of years, you're doing it, you've got a couple of credit card payments in EMI, and if you find yourself that I've not saved enough, trust me, even I 10 years back would have seen myself in similar shoes, that I've not saved enough, and now we want to save. A few doubts may come up, and those doubts can be in line of, firstly, how do I save? It can be how and where do I save? Which are the kind of instruments which are there, and how can I do that? But hold on a second, is there a difference between savings and investments that we were talking about in our previous slides? Can you just brief me a little about investments? Probably I am more keen towards investments. I'm young. I'm in my late 20s. I can take a little bit more risk. So let's not do too much of savings and let's go into investments. Now, to understand which one to do and which one not to do, or which one to do less and more of the next, let's talk about a little about the difference between savings and investments. Savings is about keeping aside, okay? It's more about keeping aside. You get 50 grand a month, you keep aside 5 or 10 or 2 or whatever. It's keeping aside a part of your income. That keeping aside means it's kind of liquid. Means if there are emergencies, if there are short-term needs, let's say you have to pay a mediclaim or you have to pay your insurance bill, or these are bills, these are again your expenses. But if there's some kind of a short-term need all of a sudden which has cropped up, it is from this keeping aside that you can take care of it. So the lesser these kind of short-term need crops up, the better for your savings. But savings is essentially psychologically keeping aside. The psychological difference between saving and investment is that the risk involved in savings is very negligible. It's generally very negligible. The savings can be easily be done through your bank accounts, and we'll be coming to those points how you can do that through your banks later. But the risk involved is negligible. So if the risk is negligible, that is low, you know very well that the return obviously that will come out with it will not be too high. It will be low. It's currently around 7 to 9% depending on which instrument, depending on which bank, depending on which tenure. So if it's a savings account, it's 4%. Kotak Bank gives around 6%. We'll come to these points, but it fetches low return. But that's completely all right. The point, the beauty of this thing of savings is, one, we want to create a habit. It can be small, again, as the word says, penny. We're going to keep aside something like a habit, right? And we don't want to take too much risk because we might need some short-term need, and there has to be liquid. And we are completely fine if it gives me a little bit over in inflation or at par with inflation, will not be that good, but little over inflation is fairly fine. If I want to beat the markets and the inflation, then where I'll be talking about is investments. We'll come to that. The last point about savings is it involves putting money in most liquid assets. Yeah. So liquid assets, because of the fact that if you crop up with a short-term need, you need it quickly. You just go to an ATM, you just go to a bank and fill up a form, you quickly can get that money. Investments, on the other hand, is putting money in financial product to earn returns and grow your wealth, right? This word is very important. The word wealth is extremely important, and this is where your investments will play a very big role. When it's saving, can I save and create a wealth? I would probably say no. The saving will give you the backbone. The saving will give you the confidence. The saving will give you the fallback. You've been working for 15, 20 years. You're completely pissed off. You can't take it anymore. You've saved a decent amount. Hell, you leave the job and take a sabbatical. Savings can be a backbone, but the wealth can come from investments. Savings is a little short-term in nature. But investments are generally longer term. It's like a year or more than that. It's always more than a year, which involves investments. Year is, I would say, the shortest time period that one can think of when it comes to investments. I'm just getting a little bit of background noise, so I'll request again, Harsh, Kumar, if you just can keep yourself in mute. You got a question? Put it on the chat window. I'll check it. So risk is involved. Obviously, we are looking about higher returns. The returns range around 60 to 20%. So obviously, the risk is involved depending upon the risk appetite. Okay, the riskier you are, you can, if you go right, then the possibility of making a higher return. So there is risk involved in it. Obviously, if you're taking a higher risk, the returns that you can get can also be a little higher. Liquidity is a secondary issue, in case of investments. So there are various instruments where you can invest, and they may have their lock-in period and they may not be that liquid. Also, there is a psychological lock-in period that I would like to talk to you about. When it's about, let's say what is happening at the ground level. Let's say you get 50,000 rupees. Right? Your first job, you're making 50,000 rupees a month, right? You know that it's always good, and I want to be that ant and actually be financially free when I reach my late 40s and early 50s and all. So okay, fine, I should have a bit of my savings, which is my fallback, and slowly, as I know more about the markets and I have a lot of savings, I can start slowly but surely some amount of investments, right? The psychological lock-in period is what I say is when your savings, when you're putting in some amount in your savings, the idea is small but habitual, regular, but which does not have much of a lock-in period. So whenever the need be, it should be liquid, right? Investments, on the other hand, is where you need to give little time. So fine, if the instrument comes with lock-in period, you should be okay with it, and you should only park in that money which you're okay to lock in. By the fact that I'm greedy and I want that return, I put in a lot of my money into investments, and well, in a year's time I need to break it. Doesn't make sense. Investments is something that's gonna grow really big with time. The more time you give, the tree actually grows bigger. Savings, the idea is regularity, and the idea is small, and the idea is liquid. Investments, the idea is long term. You're completely okay if it comes with a lock-in period, but I'm going to give it some more time. So now that we more or less know about savings and investments, and in our next stage, we're going to talk a lot about investments. Ways that you can start saving quickly. There are various ways, but the quickly what I've purposely kept, if you find yourself that I'm doing a job and I have a bank account, I'm doing this webinar makes little, I knew all of these things, I just needed to be inspired or little push, and I want to do it quickly, right? Everyone in 2015 wants to do everything quick. The best way to start off with will be through your banks. That's your deposit accounts. And if you have an account already now, if you don't have an account and you're studying in your school or college, once you get your first job, you'll be signing that form where you will be opening your account and you'll be getting your flashy debit card. I still remember filling up for HDFC Bank way back 12 years back when I got the job. So saving bank account, which now comes with a possibility of recurring deposit account, which we call the RD, and the fixed deposit account. These are the three. These are not the only, but these are the three ways you can very quickly start saving. So what's a savings account? So savings accounts are essentially open to encourage people to save money, correct? To save their earnings. They are allowed to withdraw their money anytime. If you already have an account, you can withdraw it anytime. You get an interest in the ranging of 4 to 6%. If I'm not mistaken, Kotak Bank in India right now gives around 6%. Most of the banks are giving close to that 4% mark. A minimum amount needs to be kept, and it depends on the kind of account. There are zero balance accounts also, there are salary accounts, but most of them might have a minimum amount that you need to keep. If it's a private sector bank, then that minimum amount can be a little higher than the public sector banks. let's say you have managed to save something on your saving account and you need some more money. You don't want to withdraw that money. Can you get a loan from it? Well, as of now, they'll not give you a loan based on the savings account that you have. So let's say if I take you to HDFC Bank, this is a website of HDFC Bank, right? And there's no brand loyalty towards HDFC, Axis, or ICICI, anything like that. I just thought of taking any bank, so I've chosen HDFC Bank. You can choose Axis or ICICI. There's nothing like I'm promoting HDFC here. So when you come to products, and most of the banking websites will have very similar flow. So when you come to accounts and deposits, you see there are a lot of accounts that you can open. We're talking about savings account. So when you come to savings account, you will read about what the saving account is all about. They will have various types of savings accounts, Kids Advantage, Savings Max. And the first one would be the where you would like to go and see what are the details of that account. So what are the features and benefits? What are the special privileges? What are the fees and charges and all? So this is just a simple savings account that you can open. It will come with a debit card and you can save some money. You're going to get around 4%. The other one is recurring deposit account. This is one tad better than having just a savings account. And savings account is very, very liquid. It's the most liquid one you can have apart from having cash in your pocket. In recurring deposit account, you decide a fixed amount, okay, and you put it every month for a specified period of time. Let's say 1 year. Let's say fixed amount of let's say 5,000 rupees, and you're going to do this for let's say 1 year. So every month you're going to put it. So you're going to invest so much money in 1 year, and this will go into your recurring deposit account. And this 60,000 is going to earn you interest at the end of the particular fixed period, and that interest would be better than what you're getting in a savings account. Shailendra says no audio. Is it just an issue with Shailendra? Is the others can hear me fine? If you can just let me know on the chat if you can hear me fine. Yes, all right. Shailendra, I'll request you to just check your ports and audio devices. Fine, Vignesh, thank you. Yes, thanks. So recurring deposits is going to give you a little more interest, and we'll go to that our example of HDFC website where we're looking at savings account right now. It's going to give you a better interest rate for sure, but the caveat is you have to decide on a fixed amount. You have to decide on a fixed interval, regularity, and you will get it only after that period ends. What this does, and it's really advisable, it develops the regular saving habit among the public, right? Let me share with you an example. Let's say if you've purchased something on EMI. Let's say you've purchased something on EMI. Let's say you've purchased your iPhone or you've purchased a car. You've taken an EMI for let's say 5 years, for 5 years, so 60 months you'll be paying. So recurring deposit account, same as SIP, systematic investment plan. So I'll come to that. Hold on. I'll come to that answer. What I'm trying to say with the EMI part is, let's say if you've purchased something on EMI, right? And every month on the 10th, your EMI is going to get deducted from your account, right? So you know that periodically, whatever comes on the 10th of every month, so much amount is going to get deducted from my account. So you'll get an SMS on your phone saying that so much amount is got debited from your account, right? And if it's for 5 years or 1 year, it will get done periodically, come what no. If you don't have the money, they're gonna question you and they're gonna ask you. Same way, what a recurring deposit account can do is a EMI also, but on this case, you're not purchasing anything. I'll request everyone, Radhika, I'm putting you on mute. Yeah, thanks. I'll request everyone to put themselves on mute like the rest of them have done. So thanks a lot. So coming back to the point of the EMI that I was making was not in terms of purchase, just a promise that you do to yourself that the bank is now going to take some money from my bank account and put it to a better pool where I'm going to make some more money. And this is going to add every month. This is going to add to my pool rather than getting subtracted. So this is the regular saving habit. This is the most important thing. The most important thing is not whether I'm making 5% or 6% or 7%. The most important thing is not whether the inflation rate is so high I'm saving and it's not beating my inflation. Doesn't matter. If you keep on doing it for a long term, the fact that you're doing it for the long term and the fact that you're doing it habitually, the fact that you're doing it and you're getting the benefit of compounding, when all of this comes together, they will show you the kind of returns that will give you the strength at the later half of your life. So under recurring deposit account, it's more like an EMI that you're putting in for yourself and you're not just paying to some other person. The period of this deposit is maximum like 10 years and can have 6 months to 1 year. But the more you do, the better it is. The rate of interest, as I said, is higher. We'll go back to the website and check how it is. And no withdrawals are around in between. So you have to park it in that account for that period of time. And you can at times get a loan based on the outstanding that you have. So if I come back to the HDFC website details that they have, and I go back to and I come to their products, and when I come to their accounts, so they'll have deposits. And when you come to deposits, you'll find there is recurring deposits. These are 5-year tax fixed deposit. I'll come to this. More of an investment also, but we'll look into recurring deposits. So I say we view details. And over here, most of the banks will give you all the details of what a recurring deposit is, what is the kind of rate of interest that you get. So interest rates. So I come here and it will quickly show me what are the kind of interest rates that I'm going to get. If I park in for a minimum of 6 months, I'm going to get around 7%. If I go for like 120 months, I'm going to get 7.5%. And so on, so forth. So these things will change, and the dates of effective from will be mentioned over here, right? So that's the details of what a recurring deposit can do for you. How is it different from SIP? Now, SIP, this word, systematic investment planning or plan, is essentially a term which we talk predominantly in the mutual fund industry, right? Now, what's a mutual fund and how is it related to the equity market and all? We'll do those things later off. But SIP and recurring deposits in its core is very similar in nature. In its psychology is very similar in nature. Is both of them have that habit and the regularity of putting aside something every month. In savings, we are talking about recurring deposit account. In SIP, it can be a mutual fund, it can be a stock, it can be gold ETF, it can be gold. So systematic investment plan. So systematic in the sense that I've created a habit, I'm going to do it regularly, and this is the instrument. So you can call recurring deposit account putting in money SIP also. The other one, the third one, will be something like an FD account, which is a fixed deposit account. We have the word fixed deposit, so obviously it means that the deposit is fixed and is repayable only after a specific period of time. And if you want the money before that, they'll have to pay some kind of penalty. The rate of interest paid for FDs vary. That obviously changes according to the amount that you want to put in, the period of amount. So you want to put it for 14 days or you want to put it for a year or 3 years. Obviously, few banks will differ their rate of interest. The cooperative banks and the smaller banks can give you a much slightly better rate of interest also. An FD account will enable you to earn higher rate of interest on your surplus funds. FD, now you just saw that you were making 7.5% on your recurring. Whether if you have placed it on the savings, you would have got 4. But your 4% that was giving you was completely liquid, but your recurring is not. So you have to decide the kind of amount you want to put in. So is FD. FD comes with a fixed time period. It can be 14 to 10 years. Now, withdrawals are not allowed, obviously, and if you request the bank and if there's a need, it will deduct 1%. from the interest payable as on that day. So the day when you ask for the money and whatever the bank is supposed to pay you the interest income that you've earned, it's going to deduct 1% as your penalty if you do that. So that's kind of completely okay, because the bank is willing to give you a higher return, expected that you will not ask for the money before the time ends. Can we go to the chart? Can we go to the website and quickly check if what are the kind of returns we're getting in deposits? So we have regular fixed deposits, which are the term policies, right? So if I come to the interest rates, you will see that 7 to 14 days is the minimum, right? There are two segments, which is if you make less than a crore, and the other one is more than a crore but less than 5. So if you look at the basic ones, which most of you will do with close to like say 1 year, it's fetching you a little bit more, right, than what the recurring was. But then the caveat over here is the lock-in, and there's a penalty. The another aspect about deposits, when we talk about fixed deposits, is the 5-year tax saving deposit. Most of the banks have it. This comes under your ADC, where you can save some tax. 1.5 lakhs tax savings that you can do here. So these deposits comes with a 5-year lock-in period. These are also good, but if you do them, you have to keep in mind that 5 years of your deposits is locked. You can get some loan on them as well. Okay, I have a couple of questions. Kumar is asking, in case of EMI, which periodically cut from my account? In that case, extra saving is really difficult. All right, Kumar. So which periodically cut from my account, the date, the amount, and everything is you can decide. The bank is not going to decide the amount and date. You just have to make up your mind. I can afford to place, let's say 5,000 or 1,000 or 500. Let's say 1,000 rupees. Okay, every 10th of every month, I'm going to do this for a year, right? What I would like to focus is just think of it. If you close your eyes and think, if I have a 1,000 rupees EMI on some phone that I had purchased, I know 10 तारीख को they're gonna take 1,000. Whatever you do, you know if there's money in your account, 10,000, 1,000 is going to get deducted, and it's going out of your account. What recurring account and these kind of saving habit will do is, yes, that 1,000 is going out, but you should feel a lot happier because that money is going to you and it's going to earn you more money. So the periodicity and the amount is you can choose. Radhika, but recently I withdraw my RD, which I choose for 12 months, and I paid only 4 months. They did not deduct anything. In turn, they gave interest also, right? So there are banks which will not charge you any penalty, but for FD they will. For FD they will. RD is fairly liquid. You will obviously gain those interest, but there can be few banks that can have those asterisk points, small little terms and conditions where they may charge you. Before you open anything, just make sure, are there any charges? Probably the charge you got with interest, but the charge may got deducted from your quarterly report or from your quarterly bank account. You wouldn't know. So it's better you always be very clear. Yeah, they'll have various names, recurring deposits, CD, etc. But the best thing is make sure that what they're doing. So if there's no deduction, it's completely fine, which I think is the case. Perfect. So coming back to the point from where we started the whole thing today, a penny saved is a penny earned. Now this quotation, when I thought of starting our first webinar on the process of financial literacy, I thought of savings because that's the most easiest step that even someone who's got his first job this day can start, or someone who's done 15 years of work can start. Anyone can start. So it's very easy. So when I thought of saving, I thought of this quote, a penny saved is a penny earned. And this quote comes from, I don't know if you know, comes from this gentleman, Benjamin Franklin. And his face is there on the face of the dollar in US. And I'll take this opportunity to share a couple of his other quotes, which I find really, really good. The first one is, you tell me and I forget. So whatever Abhijit Paul is telling you right now, you're not going to remember too much of it. If I teach you, that is teaching, you may remember a little bit, like a class or an online class, and show you and help you do it. You will remember a little more than if you hear me. But if I involve you, then you will learn. So what I suggest is involve yourself. Go to your bank websites. Look for these links. It can be any bank. If you can't find it online, if you are not online savvy, go to your branch. Call up your relationship manager. I want to know more about how I can save better. Help me save more. Ask and it will come to you. Involve yourself. Till the point you're not involving yourself, listening to webinars like this or videos on YouTube is not going to help you at all. One. The second quotation which I like from this brilliant guy is, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. So if you're thinking I'm gonna put my money in savings, I'm gonna put my money in mutual fund and commodities and bonds and etc., I'm gonna earn interest and interest. Hold back at times and try and invest. Have I invested on myself? Have I invested on my knowledge? Or I'm just going to invest on various instruments. So if you know and you have involved yourself, that's where the key is, and that's what will take you towards wealth, towards financial freedom, towards financial literacy. And everything starts with what I said last, the financial literacy. So when it comes to knowledge, don't hold yourself back. Go ahead and make it a habit of expanding your knowledge in terms of finance and financial instruments. I'll just check the queries that you have before I go on to the next slide. Is the discussion over on SIP and mutual fund? Radhika, the mutual fund is not part of the intention, the objective of this webinar this evening. We'll have a series of webinars on investments where we'll be talking about various asset classes, various markets, how to invest. Obviously, mutual fund will play a critical role in that discussion. So SIP and mutual fund, will save it for them. Kumar says, but as periodically cutting amount, I want that my paying period should finish quickly. Exactly, Kumar. This is what the psychological aspect I was talking to you about. Start with something that you can run long term. Okay. If you think that you're paying, you're not exactly paying, you're saving for yourself. When you pay for your EMIs, you want your EMIs to finish quickly. Every time you pay your EMI, you feel really bad and you want to finish. Kab khatam hoga? When is my EMI going to finish, right? Don't have the same psychology when it comes to saving. That's why I said keep a small amount that you'll be completely comfortable. And once you gain knowledge, when you gain exposure, when you grow with the markets, you can increase that amount later. So when it comes to taking some money out of your account and saving for yourself, don't think of finishing quickly. This is not that shortcut. What we're talking about really long term here. What we're talking about is an habit here, right? So Vignesh, is there any instrument like RD with variable deposit amount, as I'm not sure how much I would be able to save each month? That's completely all right. No issues, Vignesh. Start small. Start something that you're completely confident, comfortable that you'll be able to do it for 6 months. At least start. Let's say you do it for 6 months with 500, 1000 rupees. Then the next 6 months you don't do anything, or you do more or you do less. The idea is not to do anything, but to continue it, right? But until and unless you start it, how do you know, right? So start with something that you're completely comfortable. If you think, no, I have reached a stage where whatever comes actually goes, and the goes is more than the comes, then you've got yourself in some trouble in the future. So start small. That's why the word penny. I keep on saying why he said a penny saved and not a dime. Investment in ICICI Bank for long term is reliable. So when it comes to investment, I don't know what do you mean. Is it ICICI Bank share? Is it ICICI Bank RD? So when it comes to FDs and RDs and saving bank account, they're relatively much safer. The degree of risk is much lower. You're talking about ICICI Bank mutual fund. Now, what kind of mutual fund is it? Is it an equity mutual fund? Is it a balanced fund? Is it a fund of funds? So there's so many things that goes into it. But mutual fund, SIP, especially in equity, in the long term, should be a good opportunity. Gautam is asking, as being student, which one is good? Whereas at the same time, I depend on other people. I'm very glad that Gautam, you're a student and you're listening to savings at such a young age. And I'm a little envious also. When I was a student, I didn't have much exposure to these things, very little. I got exposed to these things when I started doing my economics honors. But the fact is, you're starting off early. It's always a good thing. Uh, you are currently depending on others. That's completely fine. But the point is, when a day will come in the future when you'll start having your own paycheck, and obviously you will have your list. I'm sure about it. But if you can keep in mind that yes, on the sometime November 2015, I did attend a webinar and someone told me that to have some habit. I'll repeat again, Gautam, the point is not saving 5,000 or 50% of your salary. You can save a penny. A penny saved is a penny earned, right? You can save very small. Is the point is to inculcate the habit in you. Once you have the habit, the amount will go up. There's no doubt about it. The point is to start a habit. Now, how do you start a habit? The habit comes only and only if you start small, right? um, yeah, so knowledge and involvement are the two most important things, and that's where we talking about financial literacy. It's all linked to knowledge. So earnmarkets.com is obviously one place where you can start looking for your knowledge, start looking for your involvement. There are various other, there's Google, there's YouTube, so know as much as possible. Within Elon Markets, if you allow me a couple of seconds, I can quickly check and show you that there are various other courses. There's a course from National Stock Exchange that can help you. There are various free courses which I would encourage you to go through. There are various free courses on various aspects of the market. Uh, there are courses on the beginners of stock market. You can get in touch with our team. They'll give you a promo code. You say that you've attended this webinar and you'll get it for free, right? So do that, do those things for free, attend most of these courses which are free, and start your career towards financial freedom. And the earlier you start, the better for you, always. Students over here who's listening to me, thanks for your patience, but keep in mind that the earlier you start, you'll have a lot of benefit to others who are starting late. Anyone who's already past 35 is really late. The sweet spot is between 25 and 30. If you are starting at 25, 24, 26, it's perfect. If you're late, no hurries. There you have not lost anything. It's just money. It's just a tool, right? But start now. It will help a lot. So that's what my intention was. My intention with this, the objective with this webinar was the first step to share what we have learned in our career, and to share with you as much as possible. And we'll love it if I'm sharing with a bunch of very young enthusiasts who's going to be the future of earners in our country. And if we can inculcate this habit of saving, and next time we're going to talk about investments, we're looking towards a very strong future, not for just myself, for every one of you. And that's the intention of Elon Markets. That's the objective of Elon Markets. So I'm open to a few questions before we wind up. Thanks a lot. Okay, a few months before I was having 4 grand, and I want make it FD in Union Bank of India, but I tried to open through online. Due to various technical reasons, I was unable to make FD. I can understand, Gautam. See, Rahul, before I come to your question, let me just quickly share a little observation, okay? I'm sure you all would know Flipkart.com. You all would know Snapdeal.com. You all would know Paytm. You all would know Amazon, right? And if I ask you, Gautam, can I buy a pen drive, a flash drive on Flipkart? Considering Gautam will have a smartphone, he can quickly take it out from his pocket, do the search, put the filters, pay it, and bang, in 5 minutes or even less than that, Gautam will buy a flash card, right? So that's how easy the world has become when it comes from taking money from you. That's how easy the world has become when you want to spend, you want to get something, right? But when it comes to invest, it's not become that easy now. It's relatively better than what it used to be 5 years back, way better than what it used to be 10 years back. But it's not that easy as when you compare it. Okay, I have 5,000 rupees. I want to spend. You can spend it in 2 minutes. But I have 5,000 rupees. I want to invest. I want to save. It's not going to take you 2 minutes. It's going to take you a little bit more. At least, in fact, the first time it's going to take you a little bit more. So what I suggest is you want to do the thing online because you are net savvy. You want to make your investments as quick as possible. So my experience is the first step takes the maximum time. The first step will take you to go to the bank. The first step will make you sign few forms, KYCs, etc. But go through it. Once you have done it, the next time probably you can do it through your phone. The next time you can do it online through your laptop or your desktop, right? So go through it. If you have tried and failed, just don't give it up. Probably the bank does not have the technological infrastructure. Talk to them. If you have any other bank, talk to them. But get into a habit where you can, like if you want to buy a flash drive, and you same way your target would be, I want to invest money, I want to save money. Can I do it quick? Rahul is saying that everyone wants to start their business at a young age. How come this would help? Everyone wants to start their business at a young age. Everyone actually wants everything at a young age, if you ask me. How come this would help? Let me share you my experience. Okay, I always wanted to start young when it's about job and business and etc. So in 2012, when I decided that I had enough of doing job in the city of Mumbai, I want to do something on my own, which I was conceptualizing, which I was thinking for about 2 years. From 2010, 2009 mid, I started thinking about a small possibility and opportunity. And in 2012, on a turn of a dime, actually, I just thought, hell with it, enough. Let me give myself a year's time, a couple of years' time, and start with something, right? And the only way I could do that is I had some savings. Honestly, I had some savings at that point of time. I went through a couple of years when I was trying to conceptualize, and I was building few things, and I was working on a project, and in those years the savings helped, right? So that's what I said a few minutes back, that those savings are your fallback. Those savings are your backbone, right? So probably you just have to reduce your bucket list a little bit, but that's completely all right. And if you're young, nothing like it, because even if you fail and you blow up your savings in a new startup or something that you do, you're young, you can still start it all over again. But think of that couple who were my neighbor when I was in doing my MBA, right? After they're 60, they're thinking about financial freedom. I don't want anyone over here to do that, right? Vignesh is saying, sir, can you give some career guidance on ENCFM certification? Okay, that's good. Well, ENCFM certification will help you. That's the National Stock Exchange. The NCCMP program will also help you. It's got a various vast, areas which covers. I would request you to go through this. We are the only place where you can do it online from any part of the world. There are a lot of people in India who are doing it right now as we speak. If I'm not mistaken, Elon Markets, we're giving some discount also in this month. So this program carries a lot of subjects that goes into finance. And not to mention, when you pass on this, you get the certification from NSE. You have to sit for the exam, and you get a certificate certified by none other than NSE. So you can go through it as I show you over here. The introductory module itself is vast. There's a lot of asynchronous content which talks about the recent IPOs that have come up, secondary market. As you go down, there's trade cycle, there's macroeconomics, there's fundamentals, derivatives, and things. So relatively, this is a little more vast. It will carry a lot of subjects, and you can cover them. Gautam is saying, and I spent all how to stop this. Gautam, yes. Spent all how to stop this. The only person that can help you is you yourself. No one can do you any harm if you can take care of the enemy within yourself, Gautam. So do something about it. Make it a habit. The best thing a human brain can learn and adopt and evolve is making it a habit. I don't know if there are any smokers in this room. Remember the first day you smoked in your life. You didn't smoke the entire packet. You did one. Then the next day you did probably 2 and 3 and 4. And now if you're in your mid 20s or 30s and 40s, you're probably smoking down a pack or two and all. And now you want to quit and get into chewing gum. What were you doing in your 50s and 60s when 16 when you took up that cigarette, right? Now the cigarette become a habit with just one puff. Same over here. You make it a habit with just 1000. Habit, Gautam. Habit makes a man. Prabhakaran, PPF is said to be advantageous. Can you please explain? Yes, PPF is also advantageous. It will help you in your taxations also when you file for your taxes. That will also help a lot. The reason why I limited my presentation to just the bank accounts is I mentioned the word quickly. PPF also you can link it with your account. In most of the banks it will have it. I know for sure they'll have it. So when it comes to automated and all, RDs and FDs are the best. So PPF, as you rightly said, Prabhakaran, can also be one. Okay, right. So that's more or less it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this session on savings. Thanks a lot for joining in. If you have any doubts, any query, just feel to contact us on elonmarkets.com. If you want to know anything about the program, the courses that we have, feel free to get in touch with our counselors. They are the career counselors that will help you. Looking forward for your participation again next month when we come out with another series. We wish to make a series towards financial literacy. We want you to be the ambassadors. We want you to be the examples, so that after a few years I can take the example of the Gautam, I can take the example of Radhika, I can take the example of Vignesh, I can take the example of Prabhakaran, and I can tell them, see, this is how they started and this is how they are right now. So join me. Let's make this mission a success, financial literacy towards a much better future. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining in. My name is Abhijit Paul. Please feel free to drop in any queries. Happy Diwali to every one of you. Take care. Bye.